Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and this video is going to be about, are open houses dead? Has COVID wiped out open houses from the real estate industry? Are we ever going to see them again? Are virtual open houses the new thing? And ultimately, what this means for you as a buyer or a seller in the real estate market. And before we jump into it, if you're new here, what's up? My name's Andre. I'm a real estate agent in Ontario servicing Barrie and the Simcoe area. And on this channel, I make real estate related videos. So check them out if you like this one. As well, drop a comment below if you agree or disagree on these topics or points. So are open houses currently dead? And the answer to that is yes. Agents in Ontario are currently prohibited from hosting open houses. We were briefly allowed to in summer 2020 when we had the lockdown, then the lockdown was lifted. We were able to hold open houses, but now it's on pretty much, a permanent hold till COVID clears up, which I don't know if that's going to be anytime soon. So we're not allowed to currently do it. And yes, they are technically dead because of this. In some parts of Ontario, open houses are still allowed. They're not recommended. They're actually to be avoided at all costs as per the Ontario Real Estate Association, but they are technically allowed. You have a legal limit of 50 people indoors with obviously proper COVID protocols, masks, things like that. And the property has to be able, or the people inside have to be able to maintain physical distancing of at least 2 meters. So that 50 limit is probably much less once you kind of take that into perspective. But technically they are still allowed. The sellers have to be completely comfortable with it and sign a seller disclosure form. The buyers or people coming through have to also understand the risks and sign off, understanding what they're doing, going to this open house during a lockdown or a pandemic. And on an agent's perspective, even if you are allowed to do it in your certain area, you gotta understand that people have a right to also come by and rip you apart on social media for doing so, because there's always going to be someone that's saying, hey, it's a pandemic, you shouldn't be selling houses, you shouldn't be holding open houses, you shouldn't be doing any of that. And you kind of really don't want that, and that's also a big deterrent for people hosting open houses even where they are allowed. So for the foreseeable future, it's very unlikely that open houses are going to come back and be as prominent as they once were. Which means that you and your family will no longer be taking those weekend trips, scouting for open house signs, and then checking out some sweet cribs on the weekend. That's gonna have to turn into something else. And just in hindsight, as I'm saying that, it's pretty crazy to see how far and how much things have changed. I remember in one of my first or second year in real estate, I remember hosting an open house in summer 2019, and it was crazy. We had 30 signs up, we did flyering, we did Facebook advertising. We had 37 people through the property, and just thinking back on it, I was standing there by the door. There was 37 people walking through somebody else's property, no masks on, their kids, looking in drawers, different things like that, because people will do it whether you like it or not. And it's just crazy to think that try getting 37 people just walking through a house now with no masks. It wouldn't fly. So it's crazy to see how things have shifted. So what does this mean for you as a buyer? Well, you won't be able to go around on the weekends freely viewing properties anymore, and you're probably never going to be able to see another listing again without an agent there with you, whether it be your agent or the listing agent. And from a buyer's perspective, that's a pretty big loss. And it kind of sucks because a lot of people used to start out by just viewing properties on the weekends, right? No commitments, no agents. If you're not ready yet, that's fine. You can just go around, take a look at properties, learn different things, see what you like, see what you don't like. And a lot of people also met their lifelong real estate agents at open houses oftentimes, right? They liked their personality, they liked what they were doing, they took their help. And now due to COVID, you can only physically view a property if there's an agent or someone else to let you in on the premises and check it out. On top of that, because of the market we're in, if you are not ready to buy, then you are not going to be able to find an agent who is willing to show you around all these properties, with no end goal in mind, even though you're not kind of ready. And that value, that education that you got from going around on the weekend, checking out these properties, finding out what you like and don't like, is a big loss, and sadly there's nothing here that can replace it. The closest option to replacing physically viewing a property into a digital format because of the new reality we live in is 3D virtual tours, which they help out a little bit, but you can't replace the fact of actually being in a property and seeing everything about it in person. So that's something that buyers are gonna have to deal with. So that's where open houses and the effects of COVID currently stand with buyers. Now, with regards to sellers, I'd actually say that not much has changed with the cancellation of open houses. Here's the deal. Open houses do not sell properties. I don't know how many sellers don't know this, but open houses do not sell properties. If anything, they are more beneficial to the agent to generate buyer leads and to please the seller in a certain way than they are to actually effectively market a property, and sell it for the highest price possible. It is very unlikely that a buyer is going to come through on an open house, love it, and purchase it. If they honestly love it so much, they're probably gonna either book you or get their agent or come in for a second viewing and then go from there, as opposed to buying a property based on the fact that there's like 15 people walking through it at the moment. And open houses used to be a really great source of lead generation, for me when I used to do them, because it gives you a great idea to go around the neighborhood and flyer and knock on someone's door, which you can't do anymore either. But instead of knocking on someone's door and be like, hey, sell your house with me, you knock on the door like, hey, listen, me and this other agent are selling this property down the road. We were having an open house this weekend. Maybe you should come check it out. Most of the neighbors don't do it, but guess what? They live in the neighborhood. They drive by a week or two later and it has a sold sign on it. And, that builds brand recognition. And we've seen that more likely sellers are going to call the same brokerage that somebody listed a place down the street, or or within the same area. And that's really what open houses were great for: lead generation and actually marketing for the agents, as opposed to finding a great buyer client for the seller. But seeing as open houses are canceled now, not much has changed for you as a seller, right? You don't actually, if anything, you don't have to hide your belongings before the weekend. You don't have to leave your house for 6 hours for the people to come through. You don't have to come and clean up afterwards. And the majority of real estate transactions are still coming from cooperating brokerages and cooperating realtors, where people see the property on the MLS, they book a viewing, they check it out, they like it, and then they offer on it. In fact, it's actually safer and cleaner than it ever has been for showings with these new COVID protocols, because one, everyone's wearing a mask, everyone has to sanitize their hands, all the lights are left on and closets are left open, nobody's touching anything. So with regards to selling and the cancellation of open houses due to COVID, you as a seller are not as a loss. You have the same opportunity that you had before COVID to sell and market your property for the best price possible. And as we're seeing all around us, probably even more than what you probably expected. And by any chance, if you are thinking of selling, then we should probably talk. So that brings us to virtual open houses. Are they the new thing? And the answer to that is not quite yet. Virtual open houses have potential, but very few agents have been able to capture and utilize it correctly. On paper, it looks great where, everyone's kind of getting into a live stream, the agent's on their phone kind of showcasing the property, doing a live walkthrough, people can comment, ask questions, different things like that. See the property in a different aspect online than they would have through the photos, through the video, a walkthrough, things like that. There's just a lot of technical and there's just a lot of hurdles overall to be able to get to that point. Right now, what a lot of agents are doing are technically labeling a listing as having like a 24/7 virtual open house, which is just like a little thing beside the listing. And what they're doing there is just linking the promotional video into the virtual open house tours. You're just watching the promotional video twice if you check out listing online, which really doesn't do much to add anything. Some agents are taking the extra step and actually doing like raw video recordings on their phone, no edits or cuts, just doing a walkthrough of the property, which results in some pretty uncomfortable pauses on the videos that I've seen, and in my opinion don't really do that much more to add what's already out there.
Ryan and Barrie.
And then the people that are doing it right are bigger agents or teams that have large social followings. They could actually get people onto these live streams, get them interacting with the property and different things like that. But as far as I know, that actually hasn't sold certain properties. You're better off posting a video to Instagram or Facebook showcasing the property like a promotional tour than you are, with actually just doing a live virtual open house and hoping somebody from your social following wants to buy that specific property. And disclaimer, unless you're Ryan Serhant can sell properties off YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, which he has, but he's also in like a completely different dimension than basically every other real estate agent out there. And hey, I did it. I had to go through it. I'm not just ripping on all these agents because I'm not doing virtual open houses. I actually had to go through this. On the listing that we did, we said that we would do a virtual open house. So I went there. I went live, I think, on my realtor, my partner's like realtor Facebook page, and it was just uncomfortable, man. I sat there for like 2 hours, like 2 or 3 people joined. Every time a new person joined, I redid the tour, and then the third person that joined, I like waited to see if someone else would join, and they just left. Like it was just my phone, so the audio wasn't great. Like it was shaky. It was just overall just not a very pleasant experience for myself, but I know that it did not do anything to benefit selling that that particular property. In my opinion, until agents or brokerages find a streamlined and effective way to advertise virtual open houses and get people on the receiving end to actually schedule into their time to come onto these live streams, as well as find a way to add additional value on these live streams apart from, like what's already available online and what's being presented for the listing, then COVID has essentially killed open houses, and they are dead. Physically for sure, and digitally it's a struggle right now. So there you have it. Open houses are dead. They are unlikely to be coming back anytime soon. Virtual open houses still have a long way to go to be able to replace that. It's a considerable loss for buyers because, if you're just starting off your real estate journey, you kind of don't get a chance to check things out in person, and you have to be ready, especially in the 2021 market right now, if you even want to check out a property in person. And surprisingly for sellers, it is not that big of a loss or impact when it comes to marketing and selling your property. And that is all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know your comments below. Are you happy open houses are canceled? Are you sad as a seller because you no longer get to have 37 people walking through your property at the same time looking through your clothes and drawers? And I will see you next week, Friday at 7.